Hello, I'm Svitek, 360 Creative Coach, and welcome to my vlog, where it's both my mission and my pleasure to highlight to you my creative journey in hopes of inspiring you, / giving you tangible takeaways to make your journey a little bit easier. Now, before I get into things, I would like to take the opportunity to invite you to subscribe if you haven't already. That way you get all the various lessons and episodes that I put out right when I put them out. Thank you if you just did, and thank you if you already were. It truly does mean a lot to me, as I hope it does to you. So, the majority of last week was spent on the pre-production of my upcoming feature film. And if you're unfamiliar with it, there's a link to it in the description. It takes you to a crowdfund page which overviews what the film's about and so forth. And if you would consider donating, of course, me and the rest of the team would be truly, truly grateful. But anyway, we're in the pre-production phase of things. And so one of the things last week that I was focused on was putting together a costume list. So just kind of, pictures for inspiration what each of the characters would wear. And the way I broke it down was based on, the story timeline, right? So whatever number of days the story takes place over, I look at that and break it down, all the days that appear within the film. And then, broken up into, okay, if it's the morning and they're just getting ready, are they in their, we'll call it nighttime attire / bedroom attire? How do they dress up for the day? Do they change at night? Things like that, right? So there could be multiple outfits within a certain day. Even just putting on a jacket towards the end of the night constitute as a wardrobe change, right? So breaking it down character by character into those specifics, and then finding pictures online, whether of that the actors themselves have, through their Facebook page, their Instagram page, or so forth, or just, going to H&M, Zara, Target, whatever, any of these websites, just searching for specific, a collared shirt or, pink shirt, whatever, right? Searching and finding those pictures so that way I can paste them in and be like, hey, this is the inspiration for what I'm going for. And it's not the final thing, right? This is not, it gives me and the actors and the production team a jumping off point to say, okay, now I see what's in your mind. Now let's figure out what those things are. So, that was kind of a major thing in terms of how I approached it. The other thing that I've been working on is making sure all things are moving in tandem. So I have a bunch of people, involved that are from Colombia, but they've never met. So, we had, as I call, Team Colombia, right? So Team Colombia, we had a meeting. We discussed the various things that needed to get done, that I had questions on, and things like that. So that way they were working in unison rather than as, on separate but parallel paths. And that was a great meeting. It was, I always enjoy bringing people together and, allowing them to see, what in my eyes makes them special, and now they become friends and so forth, and they can collaborate on future stuff. In fact, Edgar, who is my sound designer, I introduced him to a lot of my friends, and he's been working with them. So, for example, my friends Courtney Stewart, she and the team that she introduced me to of Danielle and Morgan, they have a series called Tabitha TV, and because of my introduction of Edgar to them, they now use Edgar for Tabitha TV, and that's fantastic. I love that. And same thing. People like Courtney introduced me to Danielle and Morgan, and I get to work with them on stuff too. It's just wonderful, that sort of people introducing people. And I love that. That to me is the real side of networking, because it's good people, it's a referral, and it's based off talent and good work, and also just being a great human being versus just the typical, let me go to a party and schmooze type of networking. I don't enjoy that networking all that much. And quite frankly, I don't know. I mean, maybe it works for some people, but it's never really worked for me. Anywho, so yeah, that was a big thing. Another aspect of it, as I kind of alluded to in some sense, but we do have a crowdfund, and so part of my mission has been to continue to reach out to people that I know and just make them aware. Maybe they can't donate, because of finances. We're all in different places because of the pandemic, and even not because of the pandemic. But if nothing else, I say like, hey, listen, no problem if you can't, but if at the very least, you could do me a solid and just at least share it with people in your social network and so forth, that would mean the world to me. And so, in that way, we're kind of coming up, we're about at the halfway point with the crowdfund. And in that way, if you kind of just go to the crowdfund, it looks like we're a ways away from reaching our quote unquote goal. But a couple things about that. Normally, the first, from studying it, at least the ones that I've kind of been observing of, they have a decent start at the top, then, they kind of stay in this lull of, where not a lot of activity happens. And then usually it's in the last couple of days that just things really ramp up for most crowd funds. Again, the ones that I've seen, and, they get to their goal. Now, that's awesome. We'll see if that kind of happens ultimately. Obviously that would be nice. I prefer not to have to go down to the wire, so to speak, to make that happen. But nonetheless, at the end of the day, if you just get the result, you get the result, right? And the secondary part to that is, as great as we're doing the crowdfund because it'll help take the financial pressure off of, us collectively, the filmmakers. But it's not, we're not dependent on it necessarily. We can find our own way through it. One of the things that I've been doing is just basically with my spring cleaning, I continue to sell old stuff that I don't need, and it's been adding up. I think all in so far, I'm at $750 worth of sold stuff, and some stuff sells for $5-10, but it's all the little things in your life that you just don't need, that if you just get rid of it, you make some extra cash. And it just clears out clutter for me. In some sense, people will argue in a good way of by getting rid of stuff, you open yourself up for, new projects, right? So I kind of think of it in that way. So that's kind of the way I've been going about it. Also, I'm very lucky. I think part of it is, I thought about it. Part of it is luck. Part of it is, again, just putting in good work ethic, being kind to people and so forth and whatnot. And, now there's been a lot of side projects kind of coming my way to help, bring in some of the finances needed for this movie. And so I've been taking those, and that's been good in that way. The big exciting thing as far as progress, so John Comerford, who I've been talking about, he revised the script, and he cut down. Our goal for the movie is to have somewhere between 90 minutes to an hour and 40. So he got the script down to 100 pages, which translates roughly to an hour and 40. And so that was a big victory. And plus it has much needed change. It's not just about the page length, but about character arcs. And, he's also very good at clarifying just sentences, the intention of some of the things that I write, whether it be dialogue or just action. And so that helped. And we were able to get that off to the actors. So now they have, a far more reflective script of what my intention is. And they can, study that, work with that. And, with that came rehearsals. So this Saturday, I worked with, the movie's about 2 sets of American tourists, right? And so I worked with one of the sets of the American tourists, as it may be. And, we basically started at the beginning and worked as far along as we could. And which they were really nailing it, It was good because the first rehearsal we ever had was kind of with everyone there, and it was good rehearsal. It was a great meet and greet in that sense, but this time, there was a huge benefit to just isolating it, having a little bit of more quiet, and not the pressure of there's other people and so forth. And we could really deep dive on some of the stuff that they had questions on, and we could work the material and so forth. And, we were even able to change some of the stuff and enhance it, right? And so in that way, it was both a lot of fun. It was very productive. And yeah, we just continued to make progress in that way. I had filmed, with the first one, I filmed it, but I couldn't really hold the camera that much, because I was really working the script, meaning I was looking at my iPad as they were kind of going through and saying the stuff and acting it out to make sure that they hit all the things. With this one, they knew the script better, so I didn't have to be as mindful of that. B, I knew the script way better. Like now it's kind of really more ingrained in my mind. And so I was able to basically just film it handheld throughout. And I even put lavaliers, meaning microphones on the actors, so that way, I could have better sound. And overall, the purpose of these is so that way it's like in sports, we can review these and have like the game tape, right? And so after the fact, what I do is essentially take all that stuff and edit it down, right, to just the best sections of each scene. And so we start to see the movie from start to finish, and of course it doesn't have the various film angles and so forth. So sometimes it's very like jump cut, and so forth, but it gives us a representation of the film, something that the actors can study, something I and the production team can study as well, from the standpoint of any props we may need, the camera angles that we want to be getting later, the pacing, how that's working, from a story structure, all these things. It's just wonderful to have this footage. And also, too, there's a benefit to, not that, but everyone involved is a professional, but there's something, it's like in sports to me, practice makes permanent. Practice makes permanent is one of the first episodes I ever did, which I'll link to in the description, you can check that out. But it's a firm belief of mine that the way you practice something is the way you're going to go out and do it. And so there's just something beneficial about being lobbed up, having a camera in your face, because that's what it's going to be like on set. And so in that way, getting them comfortable with that versus not. And again, it's not to say that they couldn't do it. I'm sure they would, and they would do a phenomenal job. But I think it does help mentally a little bit more of just getting acclimated to it. Because I think also in that way, towards the end, the way we were working the scene is kind of similar how I would normally film the scene. If I'm not just going to have someone do a take from start to finish if there's moments of the take that aren't hitting. Instead, what I would do, I'd say, okay, let's pause for a moment, let's backtrack a couple of lines, and let's retake that line and keep going. And we'd start and stop as needed, right? 2 steps forward, 1 step back if needed. And there was one scene in particular that's a very heavy scene that we worked, it was the last scene we worked on that I think we worked it for like 45 minutes, if not an hour. and rightfully so. But by the end, they really got it. But we did take it in chunks, and that's kind of how ultimately we would, in theory, film it, right? So it was good in that sense, to get them used to that process too, and it was actually really easy to edit overall. One of the things I did was essentially I took everything that I filmed and I worked backwards, meaning, I started, in editing terms, I started at the end and worked to the beginning. And the reason why I did that, because I knew, it was always the last takes that we filmed during rehearsals that were the ones that were great, right? Because then we were able to move on. And so, I would essentially start with the end, and figure out, okay, where's the beginning part of this take, and use that, and then cut whatever else I didn't need of the other stuff. Now, sometimes, as I said, we might take it in chunks. So if the last take started, 3/4 in, I'd be like, okay, cool. I'd slice it there and go to all the end to it, and then I'd find the prior take that takes it all the way to the 3/4 mark, and then I would continue it with the last take that I just had, right? I'm sorry if that sounds a little confusing, but literally you just kind of work backwards instead of moving forwards, and in that way. It might seem a little bit weird, but it's actually, in this regard, was quite effective in speedy editing. And yeah, I was able to put all that together, and so now it's a fun hodgepodge of the first rehearsal intermixed with the second rehearsal. We've got a third rehearsal coming with the same set of people this coming week, and then this coming weekend I have a rehearsal with the second set of people. So that'll be fun to work with them, and then really start to intercut this. And as I said to kind of everybody, overall this like little rehearsal movie, if I'm going to call it that, is it's always going to have everything that we film. So there might be, like, we won't be working on some of the stuff that we rehearsed all together until a while later. So, I'll always replace what I can with the most up-to-date rehearsal stuff, but some of the stuff, that we filmed, some of it might be old stuff, and I'll just continue to be this like mix of like basically every rehearsal imaginable until we've gone through everything and, have updated stuff. So, yeah, that'll be fun. Looking forward to, having that. But in a nutshell, that's kind of what I've been up to. Apart from that, watching the Euros. Today was I'm filming on Sunday, so today was the final between Italy and England. And I'll say I was not rooting for England because I just hate the arrogance of it's coming home. Nope, it's coming to Rome. Italy wasn't my first choice team in the tournament, but once France got out, then yes, they were right. I was rooting for Italy, so I'm happy for them. I think it's well deserved. Sorry, England, arrogance didn't get you over the finish line. Anyway, I know that's not creative talk, but for me, I love the sport and so forth, so I just wanted to kind of share that. Anyway, thank you so much. If you have any questions or thoughts of your own about anything that I shared, or even if I didn't share, please comment down below or hit me up on social media at Svitek. Would be happy to converse with you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Hope to see you next time.